WF representing Palace, so let's tell you about Palace. Rolling straight to the ceiling, crowns and crystals, top like journeys, dishing out malice. Hold up, South London's grandest, far from bandits. Anything earned for a goal of elevation, just passing the team over here might finish out bright future, we can't vanish. SE25 any day, that's SELHURST. Rev up the engines, no more reverse reactions, fan cams, bands on stream. Share up the team, support the dream team when Eagles fly, make noise and scheme. Dare to dream or dream to dare, taking a step to become supreme.
Good. Oh, why does it look like I'm lagging already? That is crazy. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Welcome to the Newcastle preview. Oh my gosh. If things can't go any worse, the first thing that happened is my mic doesn't connect to my laptop. And now I'm lagging. Anyway, we'll make a start and then I might have to go and get a connection to connect it to Ethernet cable. Anyway, hope you're well. Hope you're good. This is a Newcastle match preview. We do have a Newcastle guest that will be with us shortly as well. But a massive game tomorrow. Bear in mind, there's a massive 2 games in 4 days. You know, very, very big 4 games for us, and which could determine our future. It really can. Jay-Z, how's it going?
Yeah, I'm good. I'd say I'm looking forward to the Newcastle game, but I'm not. I'm actually more looking forward to Tuesday next week, where I'm going to be going to Ipswich. So I'm looking a lot more forward to that. But, you know, it's still a big game for us. Probably another opportunity for us to maybe pick up some points. And even if it's a win or draw, I don't care. We just need to keep that scoreboard ticking up, because if we don't, we're going to be in trouble. And to be fair, we're not in a good spot right now, even at the best of times. So we're going to need some more points.
We certainly do, and apologies for the background noise. As you can see, the girls need to get to bed, and they're loud. And when I say girls, I mean my wife. Anyway, let's get into this. Look, we'll obviously hear the Newcastle point of view. We're definitely going to speak a bit of Mark Gay as well. But obviously, that rumour I don't think is going to go away anytime soon, especially with January approaching. But first things first, let's look a bit back into that Villa game. Do you think we should incorporate the Villa game into the Newcastle game? Because obviously, bear in mind, our regular tactical host wasn't there for good reason. Tactically, how do you see us approaching this game?
I mean, we have to look at this game and think we have to look at it ever so slightly differently on a tactical basis, for the pure fact of we're getting players back now. So Eze's back, Nketiah's back, Decore is now back as well. So we won't exactly have to play in that, I guess, more preservative play style because of these players coming back. Like Eze coming back is going to be big into the team. Having Nketiah to bring off the bench as well. I don't think that he'll start, but I think that having someone of his firepower off the bench could be very important in this game. Also, the fact that with Decore being back, Wharton's not too far out, Hughes probably being able to play. Also, having Devaney to come off the bench, you know, he hasn't disgraced himself. He's played really well. I feel like we can actually look at this game slightly differently because of the players that we have at our disposal. I think the fact that we've got these players, we can maybe put in that little bit more of a press than we have done in the last few games. Last few games, counter-attack. But with Newcastle, they have injuries, but some of their players are back for this game. So we'd like to get our injury status from PremierLeagueInjuries.com. It says Bruno's back, Willock's back, Dan Burns back, Botman's still out, Kraft is still out, and Lascelles is still out. So basically everyone else is back. And a certain Callum Wilson loves a good goal against us. So, and I know he's fit again, isn't he? Because there's been a lot of happiness around him. But it is what it is. We have to look at this game slightly differently. I want to go out and be a little bit more assertive. We are at home. we need to have another similar performance to how we did against them at the end of last season at Selhurst Park. We did have a weakened side then. We didn't even have Michael Elise in the team then, and we still did the business. So why can't we do it again? You're muted.
I do that every stream, by the way. Oh boy. I was saying it's funny how things have turned in a couple of days, because Tuesday we're looking at Bruno Guimaraes probably being unavailable, Willock probably being unavailable. We knew Burns will be back from suspension. Now I'm seeing tweets that Brockman's back in full training. It's like typical, always back against Palace. But there's no one better to discuss this than our resident magpie here, Pete Daves. Honestly, appreciate you. I was an honor once again to be on your stream yesterday. Had a good conversation. Before we talk about the obvious, can you give us a bit of an update regarding the players that are allegedly back, which is annoying?
Look, it's a pleasure to be on with you guys. Thank you for the invite. Yeah, it's you know what, it's always a difficult one, guys, because with Eddie Howe, you just don't know. You never ever know. Like he keeps everything under wraps. He will tell you a player's injured and out for 2 weeks, and then at 2 o'clock or 1:45, you'll realize he's in this team and he's starting. So it is very, very interesting. However, the news that we wanted to hear is that both Willock and Bruno have trained today. Willock had been training for a couple of days, so we knew he was going to play, or certainly be involved in the squad. But the one I wasn't quite sure about was Bruno, because he went off on Monday and straight down the tunnel, and that never really is a good sign. But he's trained today, providing he got through that, which I imagine he does. He's a machine. Bruno, he's our one consistent. He literally plays every game, and when he looks like he's injured, he turns up the next game and he plays like he was never injured at all. So I do fully expect him to play now. I didn't when we spoke yesterday, Rich. I am confident now of the fact that he's trained before the game tomorrow. And that's the big update. Wilson's had a full week of training. He's fine, no problems after his first appearance in 5 months against West Ham. Trippier, again, the same, all good from him. Botman is back in training, which was amazing news. Honestly, he's been out since February, March time. It's great to see him back now. He won't be available tomorrow. There was talk that although he's back in full training now, he won't be available until probably towards the end of December. I think they're going to be really cautious with him because it was an ACL injury. They don't want any sort of after effects or anything breaking down on the back of that. So it's still early stages for him. But for Newcastle fans, it's just a great feeling to have him back, because he's arguably our best centre-back. In fact, you know what? He is our best centre-back, and we've missed him not being 100% fit in the team. So that's kind of where we're at with injuries. Everything else is as you were. And the only addition to that is that Louis Miley, who's our very young, promising midfielder, and Matt Targett, who's just coming back from injury as well. They're both playing in under 21s tonight, so they won't be available for the squad tomorrow. So that's been pre-planned. And that's kind of where we are with the squad, lads, from a Newcastle perspective. But yeah, I mean, did Glasner have his interview today? I'm interested to hear what you boys have said about that, whether there's been any updates regarding that.
Right, we were going to talk about it a little bit later, but
Sorry.
So no, it's right. He has confirmed that Ebbs is in the squad tomorrow, and so is Eddie Nketiah.
Oh, okay.
So they're both back. Let me just scroll down. Check the Corey's had a good week of training, so he's fine.
Adam Wharton's not too far out as well.
Wharton's not too far out. So we're getting very close to a full strength. Very, very, very close. So yeah, I mean, it's good news. It's good news. Because I mentioned to you yesterday that for me personally, I think Ebb should start personally, because like these 2 games are massive, and that's no slight on Justin Devaney, but it's Ebbs, isn't it? It is Ebbs. However, I mean, I'll come to you, JC, about this. Do you think we should start Ebbs? Bear in mind, we've got 2 games in 4 days.
I wholeheartedly believe that I'm looking at Ipswich as a game that we have to win. I'm looking at Newcastle as a game where I would be happy with a draw.
Yeah.
So how I'm looking at it, would I trust a very injury-prone player like Ebbs to start in this game and then start again 4 days later? I don't know. But as you said, it's Ebbs, isn't it? And if you have better players around him, he plays better. And the fact that we've got better players coming back as well, I feel like this is probably a good time for him to come back into the squad, because I don't know, maybe next week, maybe in 2 weeks' time, you could have a full squad of Adam Wharton in that midfield as well. Because I think him being able to play in the same team as Czech Decore instantly gives us a lot more maneuverability with the ball. Mateta has been playing really well in the last few games. His hold-up play has been incredible. Devaney hasn't disgraced himself at all. He's played really well in the last 2 games. But in the positions that you saw Devaney in, could you maybe see Ebbs doing a little bit more with the ball there? I think you could. So I think you'd have to start him, but I would be sitting there doing the same thing as we did with Decore. 60 minutes, no matter what, take him off. In both games, this game and Ipswich. But I would start him, yeah.
It's going to be one where we're going to be sitting there wincing. Absolutely
Every
wincing.
tackle.
And even any little sprint, it's like, oh, don't get injured and stuff. But, you know, I'm not going to waste any time because we all know what we need to discuss here. A certain centre-back. Rumours are circulating again that you're looking to go back in for Mark Gay. I shared my viewpoint with you yesterday, Pete, on it. For those who haven't seen the stream, I'll let you know now. I said I could see both sides. Financially, we probably would need to cash in now for a January move, because if it goes to the summer, he's going to be about 30 mil. Whereas if we sell him in Jan, we can get around 50. However, we're in the relegation zone and we shouldn't lose one of our better centre backs. That in itself is criminal. So we've got to weigh up. Do we take the money now? Because we do need to invest in January, by the way. And you know our ownership, they are tight with money. Or do we wait, knowing that we're going to lose a lot? I don't think he helps us stay in the division. It's a catch-22. And then you also add the fact that this whole potential sport bank takeover, would that inject money into us? We don't know. We have to wait and see. But, Pete, what are your thoughts on Mark Gay and whether or not you want him in Jan?
Well, firstly, he's a fantastic centre-back, in my opinion. I really enjoyed watching him play for England in particular over the Euros. I thought he was arguably our best player during the Euros in the summer. So massively impressed with him. And I'll be honest with you, in the summer when the links came about, I was genuinely surprised, because I thought, like, to get a player of his caliber coming off the back of a fantastic Euros would be just amazing. And obviously the saga ran on, and it did look like the longer it went on, the less likely it was going to happen, and the money involved from a Newcastle perspective, knowing with our PSR issues and all the rest of it, was just getting a little bit crazy, to the point where the excitement initially of potentially signing him turned to, oh, is this the right deal in terms of how much money we're going to spend with PSR and everything else? Not that we're saying that he's not worth that sort of money. Obviously, Palace have got a value on him and completely respect that. So when it didn't happen, I think it was kind of a little bit of mixed emotions. Glad that we maybe didn't spend all of that money. But secondly, disappointed that we didn't sign him because he was the only one we were really going for. Looking at that point to the beginning of September, I said to the lads on Loaded, I was adamant that we wouldn't go back in for him in January. I thought it's either now or never, the summer, or we don't get him at all. I just didn't see it. However, as you've mentioned, Rich and JC, the rumours haven't gone away. They haven't gone away. They're still there, rumbling along from the Newcastle circles. It's being reported on kind of every couple of days or every day in terms of, are we going to go back in for him? Are we not? The question's there. The one thing I'll say that's been really interesting, lads, from a Newcastle perspective, is for the last 2 press conferences, Eddie Howe's been asked on Mark Gay, and normally he'd be very dismissive. In Mark Gay, wouldn't refer to the player directly and would keep it very general. He has talked about him directly in his press conference and talked about the fact that last week he talked about the fact that we didn't offer the 60+ million that was bandied about, that it never got to that stage, and the money that was bandied about, it wasn't as high as that. That was the one thing he said last weekend. This week he's talked about the player and he's showed his admiration for the player, which is something that Eddie Howe normally doesn't do. Now, you can read into that in 2 ways. It could be that he's doing that because he's kind of almost drawing attention to Gay because we're looking in a different direction, or he's almost putting it out there to say, I like the player, I want the player, we're going to go back in January. So that's kind of what I've been taking off the last couple of weeks from Eddie Howe, because it's not like him to talk directly about the player. I'm of the mindset now that I think we will ask the question again in January. I'm not saying we're going to be as bullish or as put in as many bids as we did in the summer. I don't think it will get that far. I think it'll be a case of maybe early on in the window, we'll ask the question about Mark Gay. We might not even hear about it directly, but I think we may ask the question and say, we'd like the player, what sort of price you're looking at? And then based on how Palace reply to that, it will determine whether we proceed with it or we look elsewhere. Because I think we won't make the same mistake again. It was Gay or nothing in the summer. This summer, now we've had Paul Mitchell for 6-7 months, who's our sporting director, who came in quite late. He, I believe, will be looking at alternative options. I think Mark Gay will be the first choice. And if not, we'll look in different directions. So I think that's kind of how I'm seeing it now from a January perspective from Newcastle. And we'll have to see kind of how that transpires. But it was really interesting what you were saying, Rich, and you just mentioned it again, about the fact that, there could well be a possibility that Gay goes, because it might be the last chance potentially, because it doesn't look like he's going to sign a deal, that you recoup a significant amount of money from him. And anywhere for me between 40, 50, maybe 55 million, I think would be a fair reflection of what he's done at Palace, and particularly what he's done at England with 18 months left on his contract going into January. But I don't know what you boys think about what I've said, whether you agree, disagree. That's kind of where I am at the moment from a Newcastle perspective.
JC, I'll let you go first.
I mean, I think that I would like to get as much money for him as possible. Sorry for all the background noise. I'd like to get as much money as possible for him, but I don't see it happening. I think right now we have to strengthen as much as possible. If we was in a much better situation, if we were sitting in 12th where we normally are, I think we'd look at this and think, you know what, 1.5 years left on his contract. We're probably thinking if we can get a decent amount of money, then, we could go for it. But as Rich said, there is a potential takeover going on. We don't know. Obviously, with a takeover, there's going to be a cash injection. But is that cash injection going to be for new players or to retain current players? I don't know. Most likely, it will be for new players, because right now, the best... I think the best part of our team is our defense. And I think it would be the worst thing in the world for a team in a relegation zone to mess around with a defense. I think that's just stupid right now. But you could also look at it on the other hand and saying, I know that Newcastle aren't like this with their money, but you could also look at it with what happened with Man United and Lenny Euro. He only had 1 year left on his deal, and he still went for £50 million. So, is there maybe a way that we could somehow get a similar fee, even with only 1 year left on his deal? Because for a centre back, he's still young. England starting centre back, and he's got what 3-4 years of first team experience in the Premier League as well. So, he's he's got a good track record behind him. So, is there a way that we can maybe get that kind of deal across the line, even with only 1 year left on his deal? I don't know. And I think Animal said something cool here as well. We sold £100 million player for half of that, and we're probably going to throw away the money for Mark as well. Wouldn't surprise me.
I was going to refer to this, and I think this is kind of the defining factor for me. And based on what you said as well, JC, I don't think it's the best time to get rid of him. Money wise, yes, he's got to go in January.
Like I said, if we were sitting pretty in 12th, then maybe.
If we're in
but
12th,
right now,
we can take the risk. We can't get rid of him in Jan. We have to say, listen, you got to stay out the season with us. We need to stay up. Maybe even chuck him a little bonus for keeping us up. I don't know, but I don't. Yeah, it's a big risk. It is a big risk losing him at this stage.
But boys, do you think with Mark Gay? Sorry to interrupt, lads, but do you think with Mark Gay, if Newcastle came in with another bid, knowing that he's got 18 months left, do you think he may ask the question because he wasn't? I'm not saying he was desperate to leave, but from the journalist Sammy Mokbel, who reports on Palace, he talked about it. We had him on our show, Sammy Mokbel, and he said, he was interested in the move. Like he wanted the move. Like if they could agree a fee, do you think because it didn't materialize in the summer, do you think that if a bid comes in again in January, he might ask the question and say, "I'd like to move"? I'm not trying to put like any sort of cats amongst the pigeons there. I'm just genuinely asking the question because I'm not sure how you guys.
It can happen. Players' heads can turn. It's the nature of the beast. Remember, we're Crystal Palace. We've played in Europe. We finished top 10 twice. We developed talent with the aim of selling them on at some point. They want to play European football. Like I said to you yesterday, Ebbs was probably fuming. No one went in for him. He's thinking his mates just nicked to move to Bayern Munich. There was obviously these rumours like I think Newcastle, City, Tottenham all went in Ebbs. None of them made a bid. So he's probably thinking, well, what about me? And so it's the nature of the beast. I think from a Palace viewpoint, and it was what Animal said, joke of a club, we just faff about too much in the market. We faff about way too much, and we're the makers of our own downfall. I hate to say it, but the likes of Brighton and Brentford, they've come into the league later than we have been in it, by the way, and done a madness. I know Brighton, you can question the validity of how the money's been done and stuff like that, but either way, they're a stable Premier League club. Brentford definitely have less money than we have, but I've made it work for them. Where they've had a very good season so far. So his head could easily be turned. I won't put it past the club saying to Mark, sign a pre-contract for the summer. And see if they can do one of those ones. I wouldn't put it past the club trying to do it that way. To try and keep him until the summer, but say, yes, you can guarantee to leave for Newcastle in the summer, and this is the valuation.
And they'll probably give him a year extension as well with that agreement.
To buffer up the transfer fee.
Yeah, exactly. It wouldn't surprise me. What Chelsea did it to us how many times when we tried to buy a player? Conor Gallagher, only 1 year left on his deal. Oh, yeah, we'll give him a 5-year deal. Michy Batshuayi, we might go back in and buy him. Oh, yeah, and 5-year deal. Thinking, what? But it is what it is, man. But with this, obviously it's only paper talk, but with this new potential Premier League ruling of not having city-states being able to own a club, Newcastle is one of those clubs similar to Man City. Do you think if this goes through, obviously it won't happen anytime soon if that was the case, but do you think that could maybe impact how you do business from now on? Do you think that maybe you actually have the facilities to be putting out potentially £50 million for a centre back? If that if that kind of talk is true, maybe you need to start reining in your PSR, as you said earlier.
It's an interesting one, JC, and it's a very topical question with regards to the Newcastle fan base that we're constantly talking about it all the time, because PSR has become an issue for us massively. And let's not beat around the bush. Like PSR became more of a factor for us because of the associated party transaction rules that came in because of Newcastle's takeover. So in 2021, when we got taken over in October, in the next Premier League meeting in November, then put the rule in place because the other clubs in the Premier League weren't happy about the fact that we got our takeover. So it happened because of us, and we know that and aware of that, and that's effectively stunted our growth. That's not allowed us to grow and project like a Man City or a Chelsea, effectively, of what they did. But we've towed the line. And nobody can argue that. We've followed the rules. We've done everything by the book. We've not tried to overspend or do anything like that. And when we've been close to PSR, like in the summer, we had to sell Elliot Anderson. We had to sell Yankuba Minte, players that we would have loved to have kept, but we sold them because we complied with PSR. So we're doing everything that we could possibly do. The rules that could...
You got about 60 million for them both, didn't you?
Yeah. So we got 35 for Anderson and 30 for Minte. So like 65 million or so for those two young players. That, I mean, Minte never
hadn't played.
He'd never kicked the ball.
So mad.
He hadn't even trained for us. I think Eddie Howard maybe met him once, but he had a great loan at Feyenoord under Onslaught. And played well and got his move to Brighton, and he looks a real talent. Alec Anderson is another great talent, a Geordie lad, but he was almost sixth choice at Newcastle United. He's doing well at Forest, but he would have never got in at Newcastle with the midfield that we have and the options available. But with regards to PSR, we haven't signed anyone for 2 windows now. We haven't spent money in 2 windows on a first team ready player. We had an agreement in place for Miguel Almiron to go to Saudi for 30 million last January, and he didn't want the move. Same again in the summer, we didn't want the move, and that restricted on where we could go in movement. So we knew we had some money available, and that ultimately was going to go on Mark Gay, but we didn't have lots of money to go and throw about because we were worried about PSR. So we have money to spend. But the key is that we've got a full 25-man squad. So someone's going to have to leave to facilitate a player coming in. And that's just the reality of the situation. So Miguel Almiron hasn't barely kicked a ball this season. We're going to try and move him on and recoup some money back for him. And there may be a couple of other players, Matt Target and maybe 1 or 2 others, where we can recoup a little bit of money. That's going to be the key, because we can spend the money because we have it, but we want to make sure we comply. So we've got to move players on as well. And that's what we've not been good at. That's been our real biggest downfall since the takeover. We spent a lot of money on some really good players, but we really haven't sold anybody and made that money back. And it was only in the summer where we actually did that, but that was purely to comply. We need to do that to give us that wiggle room to really kick on. Now, the one thing that hasn't really been talked about outside of Newcastle circles is what's going to come in January, because we're going to find out in January what's happening with our new stadium. So there's rumours to be a potential anywhere between 65 and 80,000 seater stadium, new stadium to be announced potentially, or it's going to be a complete rebuild of the current St James's Park to make it a more modern stadium inside and all the features, all the rest of it. We don't know which way it's going to go, but what they've talked about in a recent talk, some of the owners and board members, is that if we had a new stadium built, it would more than double in terms of our revenues and money that we earn, would more than double what we currently earn, and more than double what it would generate if we rebuilt St James's Park. And so they're almost kind of planting the seed. Now, if we got that new stadium, and it'd take a few years to build, but if we got that new stadium and it was anywhere between 65 and 80,000, the money generated would be like it would put us on a top 6 bracket in terms of money we would generate off the back of that. That propels us with sponsors for the stadium and everything else onto that level. And that would allow us to spend a hell of a lot more money. Now, we'd have a few years to get to that point, but with everything that's going on at the moment with PSR, that seems to be the way that's going to propel us to that. And fans don't necessarily want to leave St James's Park, but a lot of them are coming around to the fact that we might need to do it in order to grow the club long term, to be able to fight at that top table consistently. So with PSR, in short, can we spend in January? Yes, we can, definitely. We're going to have to move players on. But looking in the future, the stadium announcement in January 2025 is going to be absolutely massive for the future of Newcastle United.
Yes, Mommy. Very, very interesting. Just quickly, how long have you got? I know you said you had something else to do.
I'm good. The wife's currently occupied, so I've got a little bit longer. So fire away, boys.
Fantastic. All right, let's hit some comments. Then we'll do a cheeky combined 11.
Mm-hmm. Big out the dog saying such a beautiful intro. Thank you very much. Sounds like it's time to upgrade your computer. Right, first up, big game happening in 25 minutes. Let's get 3 points. Good job yesterday. You did us proud. Probably on Pete's podcast. If you haven't checked it out, go check it out.
Great job.
Big up Animal. Big up UK Pat. Thank you very much. Big up yourself, UK Pat. Google says 30% win, 26% draw, 44% loss. Yeah, I'll take a draw. He said there was a spider. I had a look. I didn't see any spider.
At one point, I did look around because I was like, I hate spiders, so I would have missed it otherwise. So he's had me on.
Was it a hamstring injury from Ebbs? If so, I wouldn't be tempting fate if you ask me.
What was it, hamstring? I don't know. Injury?
Yeah, it was.
Hamstring, yeah.
Rather not get relegated. Big up chairman.
You know what, boys? I don't think you should risk Eze tomorrow. I think you need to just take it easy with him. Hamstring injuries, you just say you can't play around with them. Just give me an extra few days of rest. Ipswich.
Don't risk Bruno then. Don't risk Bruno.
You got me there, man. You got me there.
No, the thing is, I'm genuinely more concerned about Callum Wilson. That guy always scores against us. For Bournemouth, for Newcastle, it's always the same thing.
You know what? Just
always a header as well.
Yeah, I said to Rich, we were speaking like before, and I said the last time I was at SELHURST Park in the away end, he scored the overhead kick at your place to get the 1-1 draw. That was just after the takeover had happened, and he does look. The one thing I'll say about Callum Wilson, he's talked really well this week, and he looks as hungry as ever because he's been out for 5 months. And he'd only played a couple of games before he got injured again. So he's been really frustrated this last year, and he looks really hungry to get back in and score goals. Now, he isn't going to start. He's always going to be the man that starts, but he will come off the bench and try and impact the game. And yeah, later on in the game, when there's tired legs and you got him on fresh and willing to put himself about, he's very different in the way he plays to Isak. I'm not going to lie, I won't put it past him nicking a goal. I really wouldn't, because he just seems to be in that headspace in the moment where he's really determined to prove his point. He's got 6 months left in his contract in January. He's not likely to get a new deal at Newcastle United unless he really turns it on. And so he's got a lot to prove. And when he's got a lot to prove, that's when Callum Wilson tends to play at his best. That's what I will say. So we're hoping for that for sure.
Mary here saying, to have a new stand. We meant to have a stand built for how many years now?
13.
It is on a genuine question, because I've been going to Selhurst Park since the mid 90s, where obviously when it was yourself and Wimbledon there back in the day, and I've always loved going to Selhurst Park. But obviously, the more times have moved on and the more modern stadiums have got, it is noticeable in comparison to other stadiums. Like, is there a genuine chance of a new stadium, or certainly a significant rebuild of Selhurst Park? I know it's surrounded by houses, so it might be a little bit more difficult for that. But has there been any genuine talk of that whatsoever?
So we was meant to have a new main stand built. It was meant to be finished last year, but we haven't even started building it yet. That and this comes into where we say our owners are tight and we are run like a joke.
Yeah.
But I think the decision for the new stand, I think that's sort of the decision to say we're not leaving Selhurst Park, we're going to upgrade where we are. Because I think that because of how Palace are as a very community-driven club, I think the second you move anywhere, I don't think any other councils are going to take us on. I think that's the main reason why. So, like, we could have gone to Crystal Palace Park, but I'm sure that puts us in Bromley instead. And then I don't think Bromley Council want anything to do with it. It'd just be a lot.
They don't want any football clubs there.
Yeah, it'd just be a lot more headache than it's worth for them. And also, if you move, it sounds crazy, but if you move Crystal Palace into Crystal Palace, you sort of move them away from quite a large chunk of the fan base.
Right.
Because everyone's sort of based locally. Like most of the fans that we speak to, like,
I would even say that there would be a nightmare for Crystal Palace. We've got one
station is dead, and there's only one train line going in there,
and one way to get there.
Oh god!
Yeah, and most people, like, obviously there are some people in the ground that, you know, they travel quite a long way to get there. Like some guys that sit in front of me live in Brighton and they're Palace fans, but most of the people, they all live in a local area. They all walk to the ground. They don't get train, they don't get bus. They all just walk because they live that close. I mean, the plan is to upgrade the main stand. And then I think you know where the family stand is. I think then the plan is to upgrade that to a 2-tier stand and then sort of go your way around, because you can't actually make the Arthur Way any taller because of lighting laws, because there's houses along the line.
Yeah.
If you build it any higher, they don't get any light. So the only way of doing that is you've probably got to buy all them houses. But you know what happens if a football club's got to buy a house? It's £1 million, £1 million, even though it's not worth it.
We're the same. JC, we're exactly the same. This is why it's a really big thing. So if you look at St James's Park, where the players come out and you've got the Newcastle sign above that stand, that's the East Stand, and behind it we've got listed building houses. So you can't build on that area because they're listed buildings, and there's loads of kind of red tape you have to get through it. And so even if we wanted to just extend on that and kind of double it up to increase the capacity, it blocks off the light. So they've tried everything. Architects have looked at it and looked at, you know, having kind of like see-through stadium kind of lights and all these kind of things that they've looked at, and it's just not been possible, which is why it's crept more and more in about the new stadium and moving it out. And we're having the same issues as you, because we're bang in the city. You know, we've got local like pubs and restaurants and places that earn a living effectively from match day revenue. And there's talk of potentially moving it further out, and fans are saying if you're going to move it out, you need to make sure it's still close enough for the city centre that local fans can still come to the ground, and it's sort of walking distance. And there's a lot of issues with that. And you don't want to be kind of what West Ham were, where they've been kind of ripped up and taken away from where they were at the bowling ground, Upton Park, taken to the Olympic Stadium where it's further away, and it doesn't have the same feel. Like, it's not quite the same. So it's a real kind of hard thing to manage. So I completely understand where you're at in the situation, but I just wasn't sure. That's why I thought I'd ask the question. That's all.
Final few comments. Hopefully, if Newcastle do get stadium, they'll put the away supporters so you can actually see the pitch.
It's a great view. It's a great view, level 7. But it's a great view of the
level
city.
7.
Level 7. It's a great view of the city, I might add. It's but well, I'll be honest with you, I'm surprised we've been allowed to do it for as long as we did, because you used to be in the corner and then we've moved you behind the goal, but it's still level 7. But yeah, look, with a new stadium, there'll be, I think there'll be requirements and expectations. I think it is with all stadiums now that you have them lower down and they're within a closer view of the ground. So I think that would be one thing that will change for sure.
Well, I think was it last season or the season before? I think I was meant to trip to St James's Park, but there was like a hurricane or something, so the train line was flooded. I couldn't make it, so we did a watch along. But I thought I'd get the proper Newcastle experience. So I sat on the top of a ladder and watched it on my tablet. So I get the full experience. I couldn't see the pitch.
I like that.
I think we lost 4-0 that day.
Yeah, we lost 4-0 that day, so it's maybe not the end of the world.
Yeah.
Careful what you wish for. We actually break faster without Ebbs because he slows the game down. Lacroix should nullify Newcastle. New stadium unlikely. Alternative sites are limited. And the other sites are too expensive. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do a combined 11. So I'm going to show you a team. You have to pick whatever team you want, whatever formation you want. Only caveat is that you have to have at least 3 players from each team. So you can't have a full Newcastle team. You must pick at least 3 Palace players. And also injuries and suspensions don't matter. Everyone's fit and ready to go. So what formation would you like?
Oh, so for me, from a Newcastle perspective, we always play 4-3-3.
Cool. Who joined goal?
It has to be Nick Pope. I'm not going to lie, our other goalkeepers are absolutely shocking. So I won't want anyone else in goal for us. The back 5 is pretty straightforward. So Pope in goal, we've got Livramento right back.
Yep.
We have got Trippier back, but he won't start for us. Left back will go Lewis Hall.
I still can't believe you stole him off of us.
Well, you know what? I think it was because his family are Geordies. I think that's what tipped the boat.
And 30 million quid helps.
Yeah, it was. it was a loan. It was a loan with a view to buy. That money only went through in the summer, so that was effectively all that we spent this summer, which was already factored in. But yeah, honestly, he barely kicked a ball last season, but that working with Eddie Howe has really kind of turned him into what he is now, and he is our first choice 110%. But we've got Dan Burn back from suspension, so he's suspended on Monday, but Dan Burn will be playing left centre back, and Fabian Shaw.
You can add Botman, by the way, if you want. We don't care about injuries. It's just the best 11 that you can pick.
Oh, the best 11. Oh,
the best combined 11, because there's no Palace players in here yet.
Yeah, that's true. Sven Botman has to be in there for me. Has to be in there for me. Left centre back Botman. 100%. He is an elite player. Now, you wanted me to add in some Palace players as well?
You have to have at least 3.
Yeah, that's fine. I would be going Mott Gay for sure. Because if we are lucky enough to ever sign Mott Gay in January or summer, whenever, I think that would that.
And you're not trying to pick a prospective Newcastle side, please. Thank you.
I'm just saying. I think that back 4 would genuinely be our back 4 moving forward if we were to acquire him. But it remains to be seen.
Yeah, ifs and potentials are strong in those sentences.
Yeah, definitely, because there's no guarantee there.
Who's your midfield?
Okay, in the middle, so the number 6 role, I'd be having Bruno Guimaraes.
Yeah.
This is interesting, actually. This is interesting. Can I change that slightly? Can I put Bruno Guimaraes on the right-hand side?
Yeah.
And could I go for Decore in the number 6?
Yep.
The reason why I say this is because Newcastle fans have been crying out for a more defensive-minded sort of midfielder, someone that can win a ball and
No, stay away from him. Go away.
No. This is not for signing purposes. This is just like I'm looking at the balance of the team, and I think like if I'm looking at this team, not for Newcastle purposes, just in general, I'd want more of a defensive-minded midfielder in that number 6 rather than a playmaker.
You worried there, Pete? I thought no. There's another potential link in. I was like, go away.
No. And the reason being is, like I said to you, Rich, the other day, like I've watched a fair bit of Palace, and I watched them particularly against Villa, and I thought he was excellent. So
and you know what's funny about that to us, that was one of his rusty games.
Really?
Yeah, he's that good.
So there you go. So I'm even more intrigued now to keep an eye on him. But then I would be putting Sandro Tonali on the left of the midfield. He plays there for Italy, and he's been absolutely superb for Italy on that left-hand side. And I would like to see that potentially.
So Adam Wharton's not getting in there, no?
Not ahead of these 3 players. For me, I would put these 3 ahead of. I would put Tonali and Bruno ahead of Wharton, although I think he's been absolutely terrific, and he was a player we were linked with, by the way. Like we were watching him closely before you signed him. So we know how good he is. I would just say on the back of this season, he hasn't really shown his ability. I know he's struggled with injuries and various other things. Yeah, exactly. So for that reason, I'd go with these.
Who's your front 3?
Isak has to start for me. I would hope you would agree. Right down the middle.
Yep.
And then I would be going Eze, and I don't know if he plays on this side of the pitch or not, but I'm going to play him there because he has to be in this team. Eze on the right.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go Anthony Gordon on the left. Now, Newcastle fans, if they're watching this, will probably go, why is Joe Linton not in that team? And there's an argument for Joe Linton fitting in there somewhere. But, and like I said, Wharton as well. There's probably other players, Mateta, who's been excellent back end of last season. There's players for yourself, Ismail Assar, that could have gone into that team. But I'm just looking at that team, and I think that's a pretty strong team. In my opinion, but you guys might have a different opinion on that.
Rich, I have one change in my mind, and I want to know if you have the same one. And it involves
I have 2.
Okay.
And you know how crazy this is very difficult because the second one I'm torn as to which player to put in. But first, I'm switching Mark Gay with Maxence Lacroix.
Yeah.
Ooh.
No. Get down. Here, I will not move. No.
As long as he doesn't make a silly mistake tomorrow, you'll see how good he is.
More than Gay. You play him in there
on the right hand side, yeah, because Mark is left hand side as well.
But he's right footed, so he can play on the right hand side though.
Here is where I'm torn. I'm taking off Tonali. I know he is a talent and a good player. I know that. But now I'm having a mental battle between Joe Linton and Adam Wharton.
Ooh.
And I don't know who to pick because both of them in that position are very good. So bear with me. I need to think about this. JC, what's your thoughts?
I didn't even think about that. But what I would say is I think that depending on who you put here depends on if I change Eze or not. And I say that because if you put Joe Linton in, I think you keep Eze. But if you put Wharton in, I think you have to put Sarr in.
Oh, yeah.
Because I think Wharton would be able to hit the pass to Sarr down that wing. But with Joe Linton, he's more of a pick up the ball and run. But you need someone like Eze to support him with his running. That's sort of where I'm going with it. And if Eze was going to play,
This
it
is
would be on that
tough.
left-hand side. If he was going to play out wide, it has to be on the left. It wouldn't be on the right.
This is so tough. And by the way, guys in the chat, create your own combined 11s as well. Remember, at least 3 players from each team. I'm actually having a headache.
Well, we play a slightly different formation, so we probably play
Yeah.
so we probably change it a little bit and put Eze straight through the middle or behind the striker.
Then if we go 3 at the back with this and take away the fullbacks, we'll still have a headache.
Yep.
Go on. Go on. Jeez.
That's interesting.
This is so tough, though. I would say, legit, I would change my mind tomorrow or the next. Like, I don't think with this Newcastle Palace one, it's not easy. And it's little niggly. It's preferences.
You know, with Lacroix, we were linked with him as well, like a couple of years ago.
Who weren't you linked with? That's what I want to know.
It was like at the time it was Lacroix, Botman, and Carlos, who then eventually went to Aston Villa. That was in the first January transfer window that we had, the first window after the takeover. We were linked with him quite a lot, and so he is quality. I'm surprised you've gone with him instead of Gay, because I would have thought Gay was your best centre back. And I know Gay plays on the left, but he's
if
obviously
basing it on this season, then Lacroix has to be
Have a look at Lacroix.
Okay.
On no word of a lie, this guy is unbelievable.
And he's probably one of the fastest players I've ever seen as well as a centre back, which says a lot.
The only thing that would let him down is sometimes he can be a bit too aggressive. So if it's just like if he goes in full press, like whether it's to the midfield or something, sometimes then it's popped around him. That's his only downside.
And the animals basically just said what we've said.
What we just did.
He's got my Hendo though. He's got my Hendo instead of Pope.
Oh, you know what? You know what? Yeah, I backed that. I backed that.
Actually, yeah, I did forget about Hendo. You know,
Henderson's very good goalkeeper. He's a very good goalkeeper.
Bear in mind, both of these guys can't kick the ball.
Yeah,
you need to remember that. Both of these guys can't kick the ball.
That's the thing. I would say Pope's probably a better shot stopper than Henderson, but I think
Henderson, so I'm gassed.
But yeah, Henderson is probably, although you've said he's not as good on the ball, he's probably better than Pope, because Pope really isn't good on the ball. So they're probably around the same sort of level.
Yeah. And once again, it's like preferences. Yeah. Stuff. Right. We're near the hour mark, so let's try and wrap this up as quickly as possible. Pete, how do you approach this game? You're the Newcastle fan. You're coming up against Palace, 19th in the league. How do you approach this game, and how do you avoid getting beat?
Okay, so this might sound really, really weird me saying this, but for me, my approach would be give Palace the ball. Give Palace the ball and say, come and break us down. Emphasize Palace to push and press on us and use the ball to get forward to us so we can hit you on the counter-attack. And there's a reason for that, because, you know, looking through your stats of your games, that's what you do. You allow the other team to have all the possession. Villa had 70% possession in the previous game that you played against. Fulham had 64% in the previous game. You know, Wolves, I think, had more than you, 57%. Just looking through the percentages of possession, and this is what you allow them to do. You allow these teams to have the ball, and you want to hit them on the counter attack. So, and you know, going back to Nottingham Forest when we beat Forest the other week before the international break, they're a team that likes to operate in exactly the same way. And we allowed them to do that in the first half, and they were winning 1-0. And then when we gave them the ball and we counter-attacked them, we ended up winning 3-1. So we know that it works if we give the opposition the ball. So for me, that's the one big thing. Give Palace the ball and let Palace have the emphasis. Let them have more possession. Let them try and break us down, because we've got the pace and the quality to hit teams on the break. And it's almost what West Ham did to you from when I watched the game earlier on in the season at Selhurst Park. They allowed you to have the ball and then just hit you on the counter. And I think at least 2 of their goals were from very clinical counter-attacks. And so that's where I think we could potentially hurt you more so than anything else. So that, if I was Eddie Howe, I'd be saying that to my team. And that would be the mentality going into the game. Now, it's not what Eddie Howe wants. He wants a possession-based team. But when we've done that and we've been a counter-attacking team, we've been massively effective. And that's what got us top 4 a couple of years ago. So that would be my mentality in heading into this game.
So JC, this is basically going to end 0-0 now, because both teams are going to want to give away possession.
You have the ball. No, you have the ball. You have the ball.
I think that if that is Newcastle's game plan, then it's probably more of an Eze game. Then you'd probably want to risk Eze in that kind of game, because if they're going to want to counter-attack us, it means that they're going to be doing a lot more defending, and most likely with how they defend in more of a low block instead of a mid block, I feel like someone like Eze to maybe pull the strings in the midfield with someone with the passing range of Decore, we could actually be able to break that down, because they do play with quite aggressive centre-backs as well. So I do think that I wouldn't say that it would play into our hands, but I think with the personnel that we've got now, you know as well as I do, at the end of last season, this is not how Glasner wants to play. It's not how Glasner ball works. He doesn't want to be doing this. He's only doing it because that's the players we had available. But now we've got our players back. We're going to look to dominate the ball. We're going to look to carry the ball forwards. We've got runners with the ball again now. And that's how we played last season. So if anything, that could actually play into our hands ever so slightly. Because if you want to hit us on the counter, one thing you need to remember is we've got 3 very fast centre-backs. So these balls over the top, they might be working against Man City. But trust me, we've got a very quick back line. And that ball over the top, it may happen. But Maxence Lacroix will catch you up. Trust me, he will.
We just be clever with it, though.
Oh, of course.
Don't do like a Villa.
Yeah. As long as he's not overly aggressive, because I think that he was getting gassed, because up until the point where he made his blunder, every single time he stepped out of his line, he won the ball 100% of the time. Then he saw a gap which was just a bit too far, and then the ball just got lifted, and then Watkins scored. So, like how Tim said the other day, it's like basketball: high risk, high reward. And unfortunately, Brighton's just scored. Boo.
They're playing Southampton, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to ask you how unfortunate is it?
Yeah, that was always going to happen. Like they're always going to be in a position where
they've gone second.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're in a relegation zone.
They're doing all right, Brighton. Look, let's be honest. You expected them to win this game against Southampton. Southampton are not good at all, and they'll most likely get relegated. So you can't read too much into this. Let's see how they do second half of the season. That's the key.
Indeed. Score prediction, Pete.
I'm going to stick to what I said to you on my channel. I think it's going to be a tight game. I think it is going to be a bit of pinball in terms of you have the ball, no, you have the ball. It's going to be back and forth. But after what happened on Monday, I have to be confident that these boys are going to turn it round. So I'm going to say it's going to be a very tight 2-1 Newcastle United win. With Liverpool coming up next and Leicester the next weekend, we need points on the board quickly because we can't fall too far behind. If we win tomorrow, there's a chance that we could be as close as 6th in the table, which is a good place to be. So yeah, we need to take the points. So that's what I'm going for as a Newcastle fan, mate.
Yesterday I said 2-1 to Palace. But this was me thinking that Gimaresh and Willock won't be fit as well. So now I might have to I don't know. Don't know. I'm going to stick to it 2-1, but I'll take a 1-1 draw.
Okay.
JC?
I'm going to be boring. I'm going to say 1-1.
A lot of people have said 1-1. Even Newcastle fans, they've said 1-1.
Yeah, I think 1-1. I feel like our defense is decent. Your defense is decent. I don't really think that there's going to be too much going on in this game, because it's always the case, isn't it? When a game looks like it's going to be exciting, it's going to be rubbish. And we thought that the game last week against Villa was going to be a boring one, and we saw how that one turned out. So, yeah, I think 1-1. I think 1-1 would be a fair result. I'd be very happy with a 1-1. Getting any points against Newcastle in our state right now would be a good point.
Absolutely.
We will see.
I guess final comments very quickly. Yes or no? Would you take Eze?
Oh, 100%. If some with someone of Eze's skill set is exactly what Newcastle United are looking for.
You nearly had him for 30 million a few years ago.
We did, absolutely. And he's a player that can break the lines. He's a player that has creativity and pace and that little bit of guile in those pockets that can open up opportunities. And that's the type of player that we're missing at Newcastle United, and fans have been for the last year now screaming out for a player like that. So, if that opportunity of a player like Eze or Eze himself came about, Newcastle United, I think, would jump all over that. So yeah, 100% would take him. Not that I'm trying to take all your players, by the way.
Sounds like
I know. All right. F says 1-0 to Palace. And is it your birthday?
I don't know. Let's work this one out. So, the dog, you are. You're about 8 months late.
You know it is. I think someone put up congratulations earlier on, and I think he's misinterpreted.
Yeah, 8 months too late. Sorry, bro.
Brilliant.
We'll definitely finish with this comment because this is an interesting one. Would you swap Bruno for Eze?
Oh, no. Bruno is he's control and calmness in the midfield. He might not do the special things that gets everyone the attention, the wonder goals and the flicks and tricks. He might not do that, but his industrial ability and his running on the ball, like he covers more ground than pretty much most midfielders, if not all midfielders in the Premier League per every game. And his leadership on the pitch is irreplaceable. You can't replace somebody like that, so I wouldn't. But that doesn't mean that Eze is not a class player, because he is. But yeah, I wouldn't swap him for Bruno.
That's fair. We're going to give you the full screen. Pete, thank you so much. And thank you for being a humble Newcastle fan, because we had to deal with a lot of melts over the summer, especially with this gay thing. So thank you.
No,
shout out your channels.
No, absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for letting me come on. Really do appreciate it. And look, you've always got a certain section of the fan base that are quite negative. Every fan base has it, but look, I would like to think we're quite a humble fan base in general. Certainly as on Loading Mag NUFC, myself, Daz and Chris. But yeah, come and subscribe to Loading Mag NUFC. Like I said, we welcome all communities, all clubs to come and talk football with us. We'll be doing our reaction show either on Saturday night or Sunday evening. So keep an eye on that one. So regardless of the result, we'll be on talking about the game. So come and join us. But look, for all Palace fans, more importantly, if you're watching this, go and subscribe to these boys here, Eagle Eye Football, because these are just genuinely good fans that have got great knowledge about football and your club as well. So definitely get involved in that. But pleasure. Really enjoyed it, guys. Great chat.
Thank you very much.
Well, really appreciate that. Guys, regarding content, it's a busy 7 days or 7 to 9 days. Right, fan camps. We'll be at the Sellers Park tomorrow. So fan camps, as per usual, will be for tomorrow. Sunday, I'm really going to try and cover the women's game. I believe they've got West Ham. I'm going to really try to do a watch along for that on Sunday. Bear with me if I can do it. I'll let you know that I'm really gonna try. Busy day on Sunday as always, but we will have our Newcastle match reaction later on that evening. Regardless, Monday it is a preview / tactical because we've got Ipswich on the Tuesday where JT and Dan will have a match vlog. Then next week Wednesday it will be tactical for the Man City game. And then I think Thursday is a break and Man City preview on Friday. So it is a very busy week ahead on the channel. Well, thank you so much for rocking with us. Pete, once again, thank you so much for your time and stuff. Guys, please go and check out Loaded Mag and UFC. Give them a subscribe, like their stuff. They're top guys. And they have proper football chats as well. JC, anything else?
No, I think that's all.
That's all. As always, guys, appreciate you. And up the Palace.
Eagles!
Eagles!